You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Learn more at wearelibertarians.com.
Welcome to the Boss Hog of Liberty podcast. This is episode number 169 of East Central Indiana's favorite podcast. I'm Jeremiah Morrell. Today I am joined by just the one co-host, Dakota Davis, and producer Chris Guffey is on. He called in engaged, so my bride is running the mic.
Today's episode features Jeremiah and myself, joined by the man who started it all, Mr. Chris Spangle. Chris is the person who runs the We Are Libertarians Network, the network that we are on. If you listen to the show regularly, then you hear We Are Libertarians ads at the front and the end of every episode of Boss Hog of Liberty.
The bump. We need a new bump, by the way, dear leader, because it's still promoting Tad Talk.
Yeah.
I need a new bump.
Strange.
I thought I gave you one. Did you not copy it down?
Oh, this is my fault.
This is going to go in the review.
This is added to the list.
This is our yearly review. It's the one time of the year that Chris Spangle decides that he's going to make the journey over to Newcastle, Indiana, and be on the most successful podcasts other than Wall on his network.
I can't believe he's not listening and auditing our work. If he thinks he gave us a new bump and he didn't do it, I'm sad for you.
I listened to 13 minutes of last week's show on the drive here before I got a very important phone call. I heard the you're listening to the We Are Libertarians at the beginning of it. I swore I heard the right one at the beginning, but maybe I'm just foolish.
Maybe it's the one at the end that's wrong.
Oh, the one at the end is very wrong. Anyway, we'll handle that.
Thank you, Guffey.
Yeah. We're going to be talking to Chris about, the fact that I think that on your Facebook page, I've seen you called both an extreme right-wing person and also an extreme left-wing person on the same day. We're going to talk about the dynamic that goes into that. We're going to talk about masking up in stores and the fact that there's no stage 5 for Indiana yet.
There's no stage 2 in Henry County, by the way. Do they sell masks here? Because I haven't seen one yet.
They have them at Kroger.
That's a new release.
In Walmart.
Then we're also going to talk about what happened to the coins. There's a coin shortage in the United States, and I
have an update on that too.
Okay. And then we might get into some local gossip and the Planning Commission meeting that was happening tonight at the end of the show.
And how you all made the wrong choice.
So make sure you stick around to the very end of this show to figure out what that's about.
I handle rejection well. It's fine.
So, this show is supported by Patreon. Patreon.com.
This show is about our lives in rural Indiana. We're here to push your boundaries and make you think as individuals. Sometimes we'll provoke you. Other times we'll make you laugh. But hopefully, you will always learn something
Jeremiah expects to just be able to have dead air on a show and someone not fill it.
You'd think that you wouldn't be 169 in.
We've been doing this 3 years, Chris.
This is as sloppy as day one with the board that you sold without my permission.
Your board.
Oh, I need to write that down to the...
No, that was on last year's review. You can't hold that. That was 2017, 2018 problems.
No, yes,
I can't. There are no carryovers, Spangle.
No, not in my petty world.
He's got to write this stuff down.
I'm from Southern Indiana. That's how we do it down there.
He's got to write
Johnson County. Ooh, Southern.
Knox County.
You have to bring up stuff from the past because he doesn't listen to the show to
That's
bring
exactly
up anything present.
Truth.
But this show is supported by the folks at patreon.com/BossHogOfLiberty. That is where you can go to pitch in every month and get special bonus content. We give you show notes before every episode so that you can follow along and figure out what we're going to talk about. There's some helpful links in there, too. That's where we get our information from. We also have these... we have special gifts coming out. And
these are unauthorized. And if these are political buttons, they don't say who paid for them or authorized them.
They're not political buttons.
I think they're going to get you fined.
But they do say, I support animal husbandry in image form.
If you don't understand that, you need to listen to this week's Patreon, which means you need to join at any level.
That's right.
Patreon members that sign up and give their address, that is your basically your only If you didn't put your address in Patreon, then I can't send you stickers. So
If you think you're supposed to be getting one, send Dakota a DM and he'll get you.
you have to give me your address, otherwise you're not getting one. But you're going to be getting a special gift in the mail. Sometimes we just do that for people who support this show monthly.
Just for fun.
Yeah, just fun little gifts that randomly show up at your doorstep. If you donate at $50 or more a month, we give you a shout out at the front of every episode. Those folks are Craig DaCosta, Chris Lamb, Christy Avery, and our favorite car dealership manager from Andy Moore Buick GMC and Fishers. That would be Jonathan Phillips.
He sold 2 cars to me, 2 cars to Dakota. It's a tie right now. Spangle.
I just bought one from Westgate. I apologize to Jonathan.
Shame.
Yeah.
What the hell, man?
But when I was looking for a car, Jared was like, "I've got a guy." I was like, "I've got no transmission, so
I've always got
your
a guy.
guy's too far."
Push,
I know,
pull,
yeah.
or drag.
Fishers is not that far.
Not far. You could have walked.
Take the red line.
I wanted to live. Listen. I'm from Plainfield. I wanted a supportive Plainfield business, and also Christy Lee had a connection.
So now Christy Lee's more important than me. This is going in your review.
Radio
I see
Hall of
how it
Fame.
goes. We also have our T-Chip stores still online, tchip.com/BHOL1, BHOL2, BHOL3. That is where you can go and get all of your sweet
Masters of branding.
merchandise. Yes. It's easy. You want it simple. Good to remember. And if producer Chris is here, then usually he would put those in the live stream comments. So
He's
that you can
probably
have a
watching from
link.
home, and he's just going to do it from
he's
there.
watching from here because I'm logged in as him and I didn't realize it.
So
Wait a minute.
Maybe
You're logged in on
producer-
his Facebook page?
I just went to Facebook.
Interesting information.
Maybe producer
Chris
Sara
when I
Morrell
made a comment.
could figure that out. Figure out
what
how to add those, put links in the comments for.
All
people
I'm
to
saying
click on.
is watch for Chris Guffey to
For
be
T-Chip?
canceled after 9 p.m. tonight.
So we also are actively looking for advertisers on the show, as we've said the past couple of weeks. We need to make sure that this show stays on the air, but we want to make sure that we can help support local businesses as much as possible, especially with the COVID-19 situation going on. We have a nice brochure that we can print out for you, and it's got all of our listener demographics.
We'll print
downloads.
it for you because we live in 1998.
Because
Dakota will have
meetings.
Dakota will have his grandson come over and print it out.
Bobby can come by on Thursday at 4.
I just can't figure this dang thing out.
I just don't know how
Always
to tear
giving
off
me
the
the
little
fits.
sides of the printer.
Hold on, let me print that for you. That's called
Where are the printer ribbons, Audrey? God. All right. Are we through it? Can we start the
That's
show
it.
now?
That's everything.
All right. Thank you guys very much for your support. We like to have fun. All right. I'm told we're
This is
having
cumbersome. Now I know how your listeners feel.
I'm told we're doing very well. We're having a great time. I've been dreading this. Yeah, I scheduled you like 3 weeks ago. I'm like, hey, Spangle, you're in Florida, and that is ground zero for the shitstorm that's happening.
I brought you guys back a present.
Let's bring you back to Henry County. We made you quarantine. We made you quarantine for a couple of weeks before you came by, but now you've been home in state long enough that it's safe to visit.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure I had it in late March, early April. So,
That's what everybody says.
the pink eye
It's not that hard
and
to
the
get
sweating at night, that's not related to COVID that I've had the last 3 nights.
It's not that hard to get a test to find out, get the antibodies, and know if you were good or not.
It's
Free.
hard to get a test if you don't care. So I'll get an antibody test at some point, but it's also one of those things. It's like you probably have to have like 3, right? Like it keeps coming positive, negative, positive. So
I don't know.
Best 2 out of 3.
right,
I've given up on trying to keep up.
you've retired from the pandemic.
This is when I jumped off the bus. Okay.
All right.
And we're going to get into it in the mask thing in a little while. But when it was, don't wear a mask, they're not going to help you. Nobody needs a mask. Only medical professionals need masks. Then it's, if you don't wear a mask, you're a terrible person and you can't be out in
Don't
public.
try to explain this to him because I've tried to have the conversation
I get
like
it.
6 times.
I
I
get
know
it.
his male fragility is at risk here.
I'm wearing the damn mask. I'm playing dress up with everybody else. I get it. But it's the you got lied to in the beginning because there probably is some science for it. But if you want anybody to believe the government, that's your perfect example of why the hell they're a mess and they shouldn't be trusted.
I'm wildly different than most libertarians in that I do believe the pandemic is real and I did not share the pandemic video. I don't think that you have to be antivirus to be anti-state. I think that obviously when you have 136,000 Americans die in 4 to 5 months, that's a significant disease. My mom was a nurse in the ICU. I know that obviously if you get this and you have underlying conditions, it's an extremely aggressive disease. It's got a higher death rate than the flu. It's got a higher spreadability rate than the flu. It's obviously very serious.
Right. Nobody's discounting that. We've had Jim Pruitt was a guest on this show.
Yeah.
He passed away from it. We understand how real it is. Co-host Chase Payton, his dad had COVID-19. It's very real. It's the government telling you how to behave or what to do and having the authority over it is the problem because their rules change constantly. So that's where I'm like, all right, do the best you can. Try to get through it.
That's exactly it. If so, you want to know why we have a spike right now? It's because the way through this from the beginning was you had the greatest public relations campaign for a public initiative in the history of probably the world, because every media outlet on Earth was talking about the seriousness of COVID-19.
Stay home for 15 days to save lives.
Yes.
Stay home 15 days. We're on day 140.
You had the NCAA, the NBA. You had all these companies voluntarily doing it. You had everybody voluntarily. Like I was making plans to start working from home. Like everybody was in on doing the right thing, getting through this, knowing that we had to flatten the curve and get through what we needed to get through that first bit.
But the public conversation was, the deal we're making is we're going to buy time for the medical system to keep up so that there's ICU space and there are ventilators.
Exactly.
That was the grand bargain.
Because what you saw in China and what you saw in Italy and on the Princess Cruise was very real, and that in March was the only data that we had available. Well, when now we have an inordinate amount of testing in the United States compared to other countries, you have a tremendous amount of data. And the disease that we were afraid of in March is not the disease we're dealing with in June. And there's,
breaking news.
Yeah.
We're halfway through July, buddy.
Oh, shoot. Okay. So it all runs together. I've been in my house since March, other than 1 week. But the realities are that this is still a serious disease, but there also has to come a time when normal life has to resume at some level, and the trade-off, like we'll get to the government in a minute, but the trade-off is to keep people safe. Let's wear a mask. Let's do social distancing. Let's avoid certain big meeting spaces. How long we do that, I don't know. But
you going to the Indy 500 in 3 weeks?
If I have a ticket, absolutely. You know, like I look at it and I go, I went to Florida. Like we were going to delay our trip a year. Then they said, we opened Florida today, so you're no longer eligible for a refund. And we said, guess we're going, because that was a lot of money. And, you know, we were in a house on the beach. We went to restaurants a few times. Like everybody's wearing a mask. Like I went to a comedy show Saturday night. Everybody's wearing a mask. Everybody's staying socially distanced.
Were the comics wearing masks?
No. I mean, if you were sitting at the table, you didn't have to. But there's certain places where masks are not necessary or even effective. Like if you're in a store, wearing a mask, it's not going to protect you, because the reality is that if you're shopping, you're not going to get it unless there's what's called a super spreader in the store. It's the store clerk who has
really
seen
tall people.
Yeah, right. The store clerk who's seen 55 people in the past hour and has that repeated exposure and is taking a heavier viral load. That's why you're wearing a mask. And so what I find to be amazing is the people who tantrum about wanting to help other people. I guess I shouldn't be surprised that people are selfish. Like I look at it and I go, all right, if this store wants me to wear a mask, it's polite. I went into Target today without a mask because I forgot it in the car. I did not go back out and get it. Like but by and large, when I was in Florida, which was the first time I had been out in months, I wore a mask a lot of different places. Like I don't think that, because like it's not about me, it's about the other people that I'm around. And I know that the deal with the masks is that it's it cuts down on the transmission by 70%, because what really spreads the virus is the droplets.
Water droplets.
It's us talking and spitting and sneezing. And so it's like, you've seen the thing about if you pee your pants, you'd rather pee your pants through your pants so it doesn't go everywhere. And so the masks are really a way to slow things down. And so in my mind, like,
Well, I heard it was like putting up a chain link fence to stop mosquitoes.
listen, the virus is not, this is a very light thing that I'm wearing. It's not going to stop me from getting the virus. Like, but the thing is that when you introduce the solution of government telling people what to do, and we're going to force you to do things, it adds another dimension and creates more of a problem. Because all of a sudden, when you tell people they can't go to work, and you tell people they have to wear a mask, and you tell people that they have to do this or they're going to go to jail,
Naturally
we're going to
rebellious.
fine. We are an ungovernable people. We are made up of the most rebellious elements of every other nation on earth.
That's how we started.
We have been indoctrinated. I'm looking at a giant flag. Like, we've been indoctrinated with the idea of individual liberty from the very beginning. And what that does in a majority of citizens, but especially a certain element, is activate that rebellious attitude. Well, now I'm going to do the opposite. And in the age of, I'm sure listeners won't want to hear this, but the reality is that the Russians, the Chinese, the Iranians, the North Koreans, our enemies in the world take advantage of our free and open internet and our social platforms and this particular set of challenges that we're facing. And they use that to drive a certain measure of propaganda. And so a lot of what the anti-mask stuff is, like, if you've seen that image, that everybody's seen it, where the N95 is 99% effective on viruses, and then it goes through the 6 different types of masks. That was made by a Chinese mask maker, and it's completely false information. It's not real, but I've shared it. Most of your listeners have shared it. And it was created and spread by Chinese propaganda firms in an effort to get Americans parroting, essentially, propaganda. So when somebody who has the actual facts about masks go, no, you're wrong, you go, F you. So it's a lot of what's happening in the conversation around race, around masks, around COVID is just fed by
Places like the Internet Research Agency.
And so it's driving us all mad. I mean, Harry on our show always says, if you want to be driven crazy, get off the internet. But here's the thing. Why do you stop at a stop sign? All right.
For my own safety.
For your own safety.
Somebody's coming the other way, man.
I was in the ocean 2 weeks ago, and I'm looking up, and there is a giant black cloud coming towards where I am at in the ocean.
Dark cloud.
Thank you. And it's lightning and it's thundering, and I got out of the ocean. I didn't need the lifeguard or the sheriff to drive by and go, hey, just to let you know. I take personal responsibility and understand what is coming and what is good for me and what is good for my family. And I don't wear a mask for any other reason than I want to help other people. It isn't because the government tells me to do anything. But what you do when you create the force, when government is inherently forcing you to do something, or you face jail time or death, and it creates, it's like it's intervention of any kind, intervention into foreign policy, intervention into the markets. It creates perverse incentives and trade-offs that we didn't want. So one of those is that the second states started opening up, everybody thought it's safe to go out now. Mm-hmm. And so
it was all, Indiana has tried to do a very good job of being data driven. So where we live, the state accepted, it was almost acceptable losses of, we know we're going to have data climb, or the number of infections climb. That's correlated to the number of tests that are given as well.
Right.
And then it has been, we see alarming infections in other areas around us. So 2.5 weeks ago, Governor Holcomb said, we're not going to go to stage 5. Indiana had this 5-level plan. Everybody says, well, this state is on stage whatever. Everybody invented their own rule book, right?
Yeah.
50 states have 50 sets of rules, and they have sub areas. So when we say stage 4.5 is what Indiana is now, they're about 80% of the way to good, or 90% of the way to being fully open. Indiana was supposed to be at stage 5, and then they invented this stage 4.5, which there are a very few things that are not fully functional in Indiana yet.
Yeah.
Bars aren't open, nightclubs aren't open, that kind of deal.
Which it's basically all indoor venues that are affected by stage
If
4.
you want to have a party with more than 250 people, your local health department now needs to say, yeah, okay, we think you're doing a good enough job of social distance.
Yeah, like I'm going to Orange Theory, which is a gym, and I know you go to the gym. Orange Theory isn't doing anything because the government is telling them to do something. Orange Theory is setting things up the way that they're setting them up, or Target is doing the things that they're doing for the good of their customers and the good of their employees, and also a little bit of wanting to look the right way, wanting to do the right thing. Public opinion plays
because
a factor
if they
in
did
that.
nothing, then everybody that went to Orange Theory would be like, I was at the gym and they didn't have any hand sanitizer
Yes, and
out.
you wouldn't go back. And so, in Target, I was literally the only person in the Target today at the Southport that didn't have a mask on because I forgot mine. And I got a lot of looks. And
Well, next week, Target will start to have complimentary masks at the door.
yeah.
Menards has been forcing people to wear masks for months, and they have them at the door for you to buy.
And the meltdown is hilarious about it. So, here's my thing. I look at it and I go, a lot of what this year has been about is that if something is not happening to someone personally, then they don't want to think that that exists and that's real. And that's like the most selfish way to live your life. And it's sort of, I pick on the boomers a lot, but that's the culture that we are trying to exit out of. And as millennials start to build their own culture. And, there's a book called The Fourth Turning that talks about generational cycles. And millennials are part of a we cycle versus the me cycle of the boomers, where they had the wealth to change the world and they built Home Shopping Network and Applebee's, and
Hey,
we
Applebee's is a neighborhood friendly bar.
That is one of only 3 major restaurants in this town. We will not allow you to crush it.
All right. By the way, do I get this Pizza King receipt? Do you validate?
You turn that into producer Chris.
I drove by Pizza King on the way
caught a
here and I
car
wondered if you were there.
I was. Every time I come on the show, I go to Pizza King.
I know.
It's so good.
What'd you spend? Like $42 over there?
Well, I thought you were paying for it, so yes.
You can't get out of Pizza King for less than $30.
Yeah, like the people complaining about the masks and Black Lives Matter, like they're all of a certain age that I've seen, and it's just like
You're not from around here, are you?
no. But I tend to look at it and I go, there shouldn't have been a government shutdown. My barber was exactly right. He's not a Republican, but he's sitting here going, I lost out on 2 months of employment. I didn't get my employment check. I didn't get my unemployment because they took too long to process it. And by the time they got to me, I could go back to work. So they didn't give me unemployment. So I missed out on that. And then I see all the protests and I wonder why they get to do whatever they want and I didn't get to work for 2 months. And so the hypocrisy by epidemiologists and the media around the protests, which are perfectly valid. I support those protests, but the messaging on it was certainly hypocritical. Mm-hmm. The Tulsa rally is bad. At the exact same time, NBC is posting in the next 5 minutes an article saying the George Floyd protests are good. And so what that does is that just means people don't take this stuff seriously.
The state of Indiana has been saying, and it's partially to protect what's going to be the biggest gathering of people on the planet this year, the Indianapolis 500, expecting 175,000 people, right? But the state of Indiana has been saying you're 17 times less likely to have the virus spread if you're outdoors.
Absolutely.
Right. So that's a part of the conversation
made in a lab
with the riots and the protests of these guys are outside doing it versus having something in an arena.
Yeah, and that's totally true. Like I knew that there have been a couple points where I've gone, okay, we'll really know what's going on in 2 weeks. The first was the anti-lockdown protests. There were 500 people. I drove through the crowd.
In Indianapolis, and there was no noticeable spike.
Because I wanted to see what it was like for my own eyes, because I've done enough right-leaning protests to know that the media is not going to tell me the truth. So I drove through that crowd.
Wait, back up. You didn't... saying you drove through a protest crowd is...
Yes, I drove through... You could drive down the street. No, I did not do it that way. You're going to get canceled. I'm going to release
I'm here to protect you.
I'm going to release the old logo of the show if you don't care.
When you say something that gets you in trouble, I just call time out and help you clarify. That's 2 you owe me so far.
Thank you. So, not that anybody was rushing to step up and
not
say, I got
anything wrong with that.
COVID at this rally, but you didn't see one death or one case from it. It was outside. Nobody was wearing masks. There was zero distancing. You know, you look at the protests for George Floyd. Everybody was outside. They were wearing masks. Everybody was fine. Like, yes, there are spikes in younger ages, but the reality is the death rate for people in their 20s and 30s is very, 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 very small. And
that was one of the things that I wanted to bring up. And we're moving down on our show notes here. Was that
turn to page 2 of your hymnal, everybody.
The cases are climbing.
Yeah.
Deaths continue to fall.
Right.
Now, I'm seeing that it's because young people are getting fed up with staying at home.
Yeah.
They're returning to work, and more young people are getting it, and they have a higher tendency to survive. I'm also seeing that the people who had the greatest chance of succumbing to the virus already had it and did succumb to the virus. Then I'm also seeing that it's just because the people who are getting it now haven't died yet.
Well, here's my fear. And so if you look at Italy, if you look at China specifically, China was weird. Like, it blew up, bodies in the hallways, and then all of a sudden it was gone. And it never hit here as hard as we thought it would. And there's a lot of research into vitamin D being a key component. Vitamin D is something most people
Jeremiah
are
makes fun of me like every week because I talk about vitamins on this show.
dude.
Just go outside.
Now, if you you should supplement 1,000 IUs for every 25 pounds. It single-handedly changed my seasonal affectation disorder. Like, my mood in the wintertime is much better because of vitamin D supplementation.
But have you just tried going outside?
I go outside all the time.
I
In the
work
wintertime.
outside and I take it.
Yeah. And so the reality,
You
and
just make expensive urine. But that's fine. Go ahead.
the
Whatever
dar-
makes you happy.
the
I'm not yelling
darker
at
the
you.
skin color, the harder it is to make vitamin D. And so the black
I'm
community has
good.
been, yeah, you're very Guffy.
I'm
You're
very
doing fine.
pale.
And so my fear is that when everybody's not outside and the only thing you can do right now is go to a park. So everybody's outside more than they normally are. Like, when we go to the parks on the
that's what
weekend,
makes it weird about Florida's cases being so high.
yeah, it's specifically,
It's the Sunshine State.
it's also the higher, everybody's going to,
It's a massive
parks.
population, and Florida has had an issue where people from Indiana, like Spangle,
Yeah.
I've had so many friends on Facebook on beaches in Florida
Absolutely.
in the last month,
Yeah.
right? It's summertime. People are out of school. They know that school's probably going to be coming back. So people are saying, the hell with it. I've been cooped up. I rented this place. Florida's open. I've got to go.
I can't get my money
they're-
back.
They're in St. Pete. They're in Orlando.
Yep.
They're in St. Augustine. They're in Miami. They're going to Florida, and they're going to just say, the heck with it. I'll do my best, but I'm going to live my life.
Yeah.
And a part of that is that the restaurants are open, the bars are open, things are happening, and events are happening. Libertarians just completed their national convention
In Florida.
like, in Orlando.
Yeah.
Republicans are
Jacksonville.
going next month, right?
So the story, because I was asking people while I was down there, and the guy said that that St. Augustine hadn't been hit hard, but they had one instance where a girl was from a family that had it. She had taken the test that day, didn't wait for her results, and went to 4 bars. She was a server and should have known better. And she was responsible for 90% of the cases in St. Johns County in March and April. And so it's
Pretty sad that she felt the need to have to go to work, though.
No, she didn't go to work. She went out for fun. So
okay.
the county
You said she was a
excoriated her.
server. I assumed that she was
No, I was
working that
she
had
should have
4
known better.
jobs.
But that's
should have been
probably
educated.
where it came from. Yeah. So the problem is what happens in the wintertime when nobody's getting vitamin D, everybody is cooped up in their house. You've got lockdowns again, but the lockdowns aren't happening in March when people can go take a walk. It's happening in January. And everybody's going to treat everything like COVID. If you've got a cold, the flu, whatever, it'll all be COVID. So my fear is, A, that not for more lockdowns, because that will be horrible for the economy, but that maybe it comes back as a buzzsaw in a second wave, like in 1918, where the Spanish flu kind of circulated around the country and then all at once just lit on fire in that second spike.
So how we talked about how, like, if we were prepared at the very beginning of this, how well were you prepared for something like this to happen?
Not at all. I think for me, I was never personally afraid of the virus. I was afraid for family members and friends that were in the at-risk categories. I was more afraid of some form of societal collapse. because people were losing their minds. And like, I didn't have, so I recognized like kind of that first week and started telling friends, and they all thought I was insane. I was like, no, you don't understand. Like, everybody's going to the store. That's why toilet paper's out. You're going to have a tough time for the next few months buying baby food, diapers, meat, like all those staples that you had a hard time buying.
If you don't have a reasonable in-store stock yourself,
yes,
the supply chain is not big enough to deal with that.
Exactly right.
And that's why we caused it ourselves, and it fed upon itself. It was just like a run on the banks in the 30s.
Exactly.
Instead
right.
of a monetary run on the banks, it was a run on toilet paper and meats
and goods and canned goods, and a lot of which is not back. And so, knowing how people play this stuff, like I knew, like, I don't have enough food. Like, what if it gets bad? Do I have? Because in China and Italy, they were literally locking people in their houses. Like my friend from high school who lives in Spain, they were in their apartment for 87 days and did not come out. And so if that happened to me, did I have like rice or beans or whatever? So I got stuff like that. That if that was how the American government would handle it, I was prepared. It turns out that they did it the worst way possible, which is didn't stop the virus, but also didn't stop the economic collapse and the bleeding. And
we
weren't
had the
serious
worst of
about
both
either.
worlds.
We weren't serious about either.
So my problem was that I've always been a little bit paranoid, and I've always been a little bit of a prepper.
Yeah.
And I've always had emergency stocks of water and water purification. I've made sure that there's enough calories in the house for Audrey and I to survive 2 months.
Yeah.
But then I realized after this, I'm like, oh, I have enough calories, but I have MREs and BitLong, and I don't want to live like this.
No, and I don't think that we will ever get to that point. And the reality is that the short-term measures like PPP and $600 a week and some of that other stuff worked. And it stopped some of the bleeding. The long-term problems with that is when my dad graduated high school.
ends at the end of this month, right?
Yeah, when my dad graduated high school, a car was $5,000. When I graduated, it was $25,000. Now it's $35,000. Like, that's the long-term effects of printing your GDP. And so we're at 12%, whereas Japan is at 40%.
You made like I don't know, $8,000 a year, and now you make $350,000 a year. So that's fine.
No, unfortunately, wages haven't changed since 1972 in real time, and the cost of living has rapidly increased, and that's a big reason why we have so much social unrest.
Well, that's Nixon's fault.
Yeah, so the reality is that we have so much more that they will print that you will never see mass.
A lot of other things also have gone down with cost of living.
Yes.
Television. Except for DVD
Steak
player.
and Shake.
I found a DVD player that costs like $190.
Even your groceries.
Yeah.
And the average American spends significantly less to feed their family
Right.
now than ever before in history.
And a lot of that is because of GMOs and improved farming techniques.
Be careful about trying to be the food authority in Henry County. Okay?
I love GMOs, and I put it on everything. So
I
don't
love
know what's wrong with
GMOs
you.
and I love vaccines. Let's get this party started, boys.
Yeah. Boy, you guys were prophetic with that Doughboy stuff, weren't you?
Mm-hmm. And so have you started doing anything else? If there's going to be a second wave of this, like you're saying in January?
I'm enjoying my life. I'm going to parks, and you go to Holiday Park in Indianapolis, for instance, or Garfield Park. It looks like 1919 on a Sunday afternoon.
There's one thing missing down there.
Yeah.
I have 60 cans of canned food.
Do you think
now.
you think that's what happened? Is people went to the park and said, "Why the hell is this here?"
No, people knew about it for a while.
I had no idea it was there, and then
I knew about it from the controversy 5 years ago.
Yeah,
I saw your post on it, and I was like, "Why do we have a prisoners of war memorial for Confederate traitors in Indiana?"
Because I'll give you the very short answer.
We did a whole episode on it too.
Yeah.
Shows you that. It's fine.
People in the North were racist then too.
Weird. Weird how that works. All right. So we've seen this tick coming up in the last couple of weeks. The states around us have had their numbers going up. Indiana's had slight increases in hospitalizations. So the state of Indiana pushed pause. Nationally, now that this has happened and we've seen this second spike begin, the world's largest retailer and the biggest retailer in this community, Walmart, did the unthinkable. And they said, I know that 75% of our stores already have to have them because of local ordinance, but now every store in the Walmart world, every Sam's Club, every Walmart, you got to wear a mask. Yeah. And they were the catalyst to everybody else now saying, "Yep, okay, we're doing masks."
You didn't give us your full opinion on masks earlier, so now we're going to hit it.
Well, so we're going to go Walmart. Well, Walmart did it, and this is
Can we go back to me?
sector.
Let's get back to me because we missed all the fun part.
We'll get there. Well, you did that yourself. That was self-inflicted. That's also in your review.
Yeah.
But it went. Walmart did it, and then later that day, Kroger immediately said, "Yep, okay." The world's largest grocer and florist. And then today, CVS says, "Oh yeah, masks. Go. Yeah, we're on board with masks." And I think Target did too. Meijer is about the only major.
Kohl's.
And Kohl's did it, or they're
Yes, Kohl's did it as well.
Well,
I don't.
There's a lot of Kohl's in this town, so they're dead to me.
I don't quite get the whole thing about like nobody bitches about washing their hands more using hand sanitizer. Nobody's really mad about the temperature check, but I don't. What is it about the mask that is specifically irritating to people?
It's going out of your way and having to go buy or make something that takes a lot of time out of your day, and it's something that's usually not readily available.
Yeah, but you wear pants.
Hand sanitizer, pants are readily available. Do you know how hard it was to find a mask?
Do you know how hard it is to find a mask?
It was easier to
that
find a
fits this
mask.
face?
During the first 3 weeks of this, when people were buying them off the shelves like crazy.
It's just easier to call it a hoax, isn't it?
It is easier to call it a hoax, but it's not.
$15 at Walgreens, super easy.
Now, back in at the very beginning, when I was getting my sewing machine out and stabbing myself with a needle on accident.
Totally ineffective, though. Feel how light this is.
That looks like
doesn't fog my glasses.
That looks like it came off of your running pants and you just cut them off.
That's exactly right. Yeah. You can make a Baba Gusha. I don't know what it is.
All you have to do is buy a pair of convertible pants and take off the legs.
I have a monthly subscription to Persona. They're a vitamin company, a supplement company, and they'll deliver all of your supplements on a monthly basis, and you get a nice little personal
like a bark box with powder.
They've also, the past couple of months, started sending me surgical masks with my vitamins.
It's like you're in the Cocaine of the Month Club or something.
It's great.
Jared gets his Viagra.
You can use the link on my Facebook profile, and you'll get $25 off your first month, and I will also get $25 off my next month.
Total non sequitur. I've been listening to the Mark Martin podcast, and he just released the story on how he got the Viagra sponsorship, and he was very, very insistent that he would never have to admit that he used the product.
I love his Instagram. It's just nothing but
it's all boomer stuff,
rich man trailers,
and then he's telling stories about his history. And now it's now he's like, I'm 61. Now I'd take the free samples, but when I was 41, hell no.
Yeah, like the thing about retailers requiring masks is like.
Who cares?
Who cares if they want you to wear it? Like, it's the same argument that we all had about bake the gay cakes. You know, it's like it's up to the business to decide who and how they serve people, and if you don't like it, you don't have to go there.
The public perception has changed, though. I think that the point is that this week it's now socially unacceptable to not wear it out.
Yeah,
in this community where we are seated right now. 2 weeks ago, if you wore one in Walmart, it was kind of 50-50. It was, or less.
Right.
And
Now,
if you wore one into Rural King.
Oh, man. Yeah, still. I wore one in Rural King, and I was some of the employees didn't even have masks on in the Rural King, okay?
Yeah.
If I wear a mask in a Rural King last week, I was the one guy. Now, I don't know if Rural King's going to say, hey, you have to do it or not, but we just had this click this week that if you don't wear a mask outside, now you are the outlier.
I agree with you.
That's why this is an important time.
Yeah, like I'm taking the revolutionary approach of not caring. Like if somebody wants me to wear it, I'll wear it. But I'm not going to sit here and go on my Facebook and make these long diatribes about just wear a mask.
You're not going to carry a card that says I have a right not to, and it's a safe
or that guy either.
Don't you know that makes you a sheep?
Yeah, like it's
a symbol of obedience, Chris.
Yes, that and then the people who are like my friend who's the super liberal. She dated a former podcast that I used to go on, and she just posted something so obnoxiously liberal about masks that I replied that I am burning mine and I'm voting for Donald Trump. If you're ever this condescending on my Facebook feed again, I will delete you.
President Trump appeared in a mask this week. In public for the first time.
I think a lot of it does go down. Like Joe Rogan said it best. He goes, men don't like to look like they're vulnerable to something, and so if you have a mask on, it hurts it's fragility. Like the thing that I'm finding on the
Craig DaCosta just posted a sheep gif.
Yeah. Like, it's maddening to me. And it's just like,
Wasn't that hilarious whenever Joe said that to, for those that don't know, Joe was on a podcast. It was a Bill Burr.
Joe Rogan, the guy from News
Rogan,
Radio.
Yeah, and Joe Rogan is talking to Bill Burr. Bill Burr says that he wears a mask. And Joe says, that just makes you a bitch.
Yeah.
And he's trying to get, it was so funny because he's trying to get Bill Burr riled up because Bill Burr has like the greatest rant podcast in the history of rant podcasts, better than Mark Maron. And you could tell what he was doing if you listen enough, but then Twitter.
Oh, yeah. Rogan is the final boss of cancel culture because he's willing to have conversations with people he disagrees with.
Is it Joe Rogan or Joey Coco Diaz?
And then nobody knows. Joe made Coco Diaz. Like,
true.
It's Rogan. Spotify will be under immense pressure the second that Rogan goes on the Spotify platform, if they're not already. The second he has a perfectly
biggest podcast in the world is going to a single platform.
Yes, just to Spotify. And so he'll have on Steven Pinker, who is not controversial to rational thinking people, or Barry Weiss, who is a centrist, who is the recently resigned.
Centrist. She's not really centrist. She's very left leaning.
She's a lesbian from Brooklyn who is, I don't think she's Orthodox Jewish. Like she is from that like elite cultures, and she is somehow controversial. Like what is sort of insane to me, and this is the worst election year of my lifetime and the ones that I've followed.
Oh, they're all terrible.
Yeah, but this is extraordinarily
But it's
bad.
also the most important. Don't waste your vote.
The thing about the coronavirus and the panic around it and the fear that was kind of instilled in all of us in the beginning has now been transposed to the world of ideas at an even greater level. And so now people are afraid of the term anti-racist. People are now afraid of cancel culture. People are now afraid of Barry Weiss and what she might say. People are now afraid. People are very worried about words and ideas, and they can't kill you if you don't take them too seriously and you just go, it's going to be okay. I appreciate that you feel that way. I disagree with you, and move on with your life. Nothing can happen. I had some of the most leftist professors you can imagine at IUPUI, and I remained the college Republican president. I did not become indoctrinated because I chose not to.
Let's propose.
Different. If you have a public official and he makes a blatantly racist post on Facebook.
Yes. Like about AOC, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, and Ilhan Omar.
Right.
Yeah. If you have that situation happen, that's not cancel culture that's coming after you. That is constituents that feel like you don't do a proper job at representing them because you have an implicit bias against who they are and the color of their skin.
So part of the conversation around race that's happening that probably has not hit Henry County yet, but is coming your way, that makes people very uncomfortable, is that when this is what the last episode of Wall was about. When we came out of World War II, you had a
plus 2 points for self-promotion.
You had a predominantly white culture that didn't allow much media representation beyond white faces. And if there was black representation, they were in a servant's role. You had 3 news outlets, and Walter Cronkite, who was number 1, ended the newscast with, and that's the way it was, as if that's the way that it was. And so now in the internet age, you have the ability for more diversity to break through, more intellectual conversations to happen. You have a world that is saying millennials are 40% multicultural. You have a future that is multicultural because the reality is that the world of your county commissioner, who is a former high school principal.
Councilman. I think you're referring to a council person.
Yes. The person that should not have been elected. It should have been the man in front of us. That guy is upset that the world that he grew up in is going to be different for his children. But that doesn't mean that the world is going to be awful. Like when I look at, when I'm over at Miss Pat's house, don't her kids deserve to see people in commercials that look like her or them? Don't they deserve to have conversations?
You want to see a world that's representative of
and sort of what's happening right now is saying that some guy got just absolutely railroaded on Facebook last night because he made an anti-gay post about the new national chairman of the Libertarian Party who's gay. And he said, all right, I'm out. And everybody was just like outraged that he's upset that he can't be a good chairman because he's gay. Well, not for nothing, but when Rupert ran on LGBT rights 10 years ago for governor, a lot of libertarians were saying exactly what that guy said. It's just that the world has kind of realized that you can be an effective chairman and be gay. You don't have to just be straight. You can have a loving marriage.
People were concerned that was the issue you're leading with, right?
Yeah.
It was. If you're trying to reach people, do you want that to be the tip of the spear? And the new Joe Henchman, the new chairman of the Libertarian Party, he's the chairman of the party and is great at what he does and brought the party together. It was, yes, he happens to be gay, but it's not because he is gay.
It's the discomfort with
right. But I think that's what people,
orientation.
That's what people have warmed up to in the last 10 to 20 years.
It's because there was, like we were talking before the show, was because there is ignorance.
Yeah. You don't have to be a man to be an effective leader. You can be a woman, and you deserve to be a leader who isn't judged based on your attractiveness and your sexual value. Like, that's the conversation that's happening, and that's not, to me, like, threatening, because I look at a liberal society in the classical liberal sense of the libertarian tradition from whence we come, in that there needs to be space for everyone in a society for it to truly be free. And the government's role largely has been to keep minorities and the other marginalized out of the arena of education or economic competition to protect the position of the predominant culture, which was white.
And it has certainly gotten much better.
Yes.
But that does not mean that the effects of that have gone away.
Exactly right.
And that is what we talk about.
It takes generations to fix that.
Exactly right.
And that's what we talk about when, you hear buzzwords like systemic racism.
Yeah.
That's all that means. But the problem is that you get a lot of people who just don't understand it. And maybe it's their age group, maybe it's because they live in small town Indiana and they don't, and the only influence they have are people like Ben Shapiro and Steven Crowder.
And they have no friendship or real connection to a person of color to have these conversations with. And so everything just gets shaded as some Marxist plot to overthrow society, when in reality, there has never been a left-leaning takeover of this country in terms of the way the real takeover has come from reactionaries using Red Scares to take over. I'm reading this book right now about D.C. Stevenson and the Indiana Klan in the 1920s. And he ruled this state with an iron fist through the Republican Party, by the way, by scaring people that the Catholics were going to take over the government. And the Pope, they literally spread the conspiracy theory that the Pope was building a temple in Cincinnati, and that would be his home base to take over Indiana. As if Indiana was the thing that the Pope wanted to take over in this world. But
it is a mighty fine target.
But to people, that's real.
I always forget the KKK hated Catholics.
Because in Indiana, there weren't many blacks. There were enough Jews and Catholics from Eastern European countries that had just immigrated to scare the pants off of people in Indiana. Because all of a sudden, the person who had been here for generations was competing with jobs from people that had just immigrated here. And so what the Klan recognized in the 1920s was an opportunity to scare white people into hating the Catholics. And in the 1925 legislature, they nearly outlawed Catholic schools. They ran on separation of church and state. They ran on making a flag mandatory in every classroom. They banned religious headgear from schools. And so fear of the other is a very common
tactic. They ban religious headgear in schools carries a different thought process now than what it did then.
Yes.
Then it was directed toward Jewish people.
And nuns.
Yeah, and Catholics.
Yeah.
Now, if you said we need to get rid of religious headgear in schools, you would be talking about a hijab.
Right.
Or other Muslim customary articles of clothing.
The last group that was going to come and take us over. And that's a great point. Because
the point is it's a continuous cycle.
Yes. But Osama bin Laden
it's always what's different.
Said, there's no way we can take on America. America has to destroy itself from within by fighting each other over bull stuff. And that's sort of what's happening.
After 8. Yeah, you're in the clear now.
Okay. What we
the Kronk kids are in bed. You're go for lunch.
What we've really done to ourselves, we let Osama bin Laden win the war. And we are letting Russia and China win the war now with this culture war BS. And the reality is that this country was founded on e pluribus unum, out of many one. And that the idea that people come from different cultures, different countries, and they work towards a single idea to make a country great, and that unity is our strength, has been completely lost because we've allowed it to be lost because we want to let these politicians and media figures lie to us. In reality, it's an actual betrayal of the American values that we say we truly believe in. Like, it's a shame to me that we have let ourselves lose what's special about America because we want to give into hating each other.
What's special about America is that if I take a $20 bill to a store and I pay in cash, I get coins back. Mm-hmm. And now that's over.
Mark of the beast, man.
It's over. It's a cashless society and it's wrong. And it's just happened in the last week. How the hell did COVID take away our quarters, Dakota? How am I going to rent a shopping cart at the Aldi?
Aldi.
I didn't know this until Citizens State Bank had a short blog post. Actually, it wasn't very short. It's actually kind of a.
You
boring.
seem like the type of guy that reads your bank's blog.
It was sent to me by Mr. Morrell.
It was in the show
over
notes, in the show prep.
Yeah, there's
one of us
actually
does
a
show
link
prep
to it
during the week.
There's a link to it in the show notes if you are a Patreon member. I didn't know this, but the U.S. Mint, to ensure social distancing, reduced operations, and they thought, what is the one piece of currency that Americans use the least?
Yeah.
Coins. So they said, if we're going to reduce, then we should reduce coin production. And over the course of 3 months, coin production was reduced 20%. And then you couple that with the fact that people were staying home and everybody has a change jar at their house and they weren't going out. And
last week's guest, Mark Brim, admitted today on Facebook that he's been putting coins in his mattress at home since March. So I'm quite sure this is Mark's fault.
And then also,
I throw away pennies to help with inflation.
There are coins that are stuck inside businesses that were forced to shut down. And also, talking about pennies, Americans throw away and they wind up in landfills $62 million worth of coins every year.
He thought he was joking, but we throw away $60 million a year.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Throwing pennies in the trash.
$62 million gone. Do you have a change jar at home?
Yeah, but I don't have any change in it because I use my debit card for everything.
I have a change jar, and I've decided that because of the coin shortage, I'm going to do my part. And I ordered some coin sleeves off of Amazon, and I'm going to roll them up. But because of the coin shortage and everyone else having the same idea, the coin sleeves on Amazon that are prime aren't going to be at my house until July 24th.
Dakota, do you not use First Financial?
I think the LP did, but I don't know.
Because they will take your coins. All you have to do is
Star Bank won't. You have to have them in rolls.
I'm tired of big Coinstar plotting against America.
Coinstar steals your money.
Yes, First Financial doesn't steal your money. Because you are one of their users of the bank, one of their customers, I guess. You get to use a coin sorter for free, and then they just put it in your account.
I love that Purse String Potter thinks that a service fee of 10 cents is stealing money.
It is. Also, they don't take Canadian currency.
AJ Chandler does have an excellent point. Who the hell counted the coins in the landfill?
Yeah.
Why do we believe this news from the government? They lied to us about masks in the beginning, now they're lying to us about this. Damn it, AJ.
Remember yellow cake?
You got it right. How the hell do we know how many they lose? They probably say, well, we haven't seen these in circulation for a while, so I guess they've disappeared.
They're gone.
We assume they've been thrown away.
Really, you just have guys like my grandpa, and whenever he died, we found 15 mason jars full of wheat pennies.
That's cash. What's cash money? We got a wheat penny back at Dairy Queen the other day. I was like, save that.
There's a lot of wheat pennies. That was ridiculous, and a bunch of buffalo nickels.
The first time I thought this was a joke a week ago. This coin shortage thing. I'm like, what the hell is this? And then I went to Kroger, and for the first time in 2 months, I paid with cash. And it was, would you like to
round up?
Would you like to round up to give money to Riley Children's Hospital? Because we don't have the change. I'm like, well, that's a really smart deal.
It's a great idea.
That's a fantastic idea. Because what asshole is going to say, no, I know you have a coin shortage. Give me the money. No, my 82 cents can go to Riley, and fine.
It's a great idea. I had somebody else do that too. Yeah. What blows my mind are the people who are like, listen, I'm not for a cashless society because I don't want traceable money, but this is not the introduction of a cashless society. This is not the mark of the beast. We all read Left Behind, right? And you can't get any, you can't pay for anything, and like but the second that there's a perfecly logical explanation,
some of us waited for the Kirk Cameron movie to come out. Okay,
yeah, like I read it, I listened to the audiobooks of it. It was great. But
I wasn't allowed to read it.
Everybody's freaking out that there's a perfectly logical explanation for why this is taking place. We don't need to think that this is the ushering of the mark of the beast.
No, it's a conspiracy again.
Yeah.
It's Art Bell, man. Art Bell told me.
Yeah. Again,
rest in peace. Ed Bell, Art Bell.
Ed Bell, Rex Bell, all the same thing.
All the bells.
All the bells. Conspiracy theorists. Rex isn't running for anything this cycle. He's gone full anarchist. Like it's like reading Thomas Knapp every day. I love it.
Rex has developed a character throughout this thing too. The first time they shut the government down, Rex kept his jelly blog, and now he's got his anarchy COVID blog. So it's going great.
The one that shocked me was when the woman asked him for directions and said, "I'll show you my boobs," and I heard Rex Bell say boobs, and I couldn't believe it.
For toilet paper, he's oh man, Rex
blue.
Rex's economy got stimulated. He got a cookie. Oh, so yeah. So I don't know. Sarah, do we still have a rum money thing? Do we still have coins?
Yes.
All right.
We just emptied it about 6 or 8 months ago, and that's how I know about the machine at First Financial.
When Audrey and I were saving up for our honeymoon, we decided that not only coins would go into the jar, but also $1 bills.
Yeah.
And it worked. We
used those on your bachelor party, though. That was different.
Yeah. We had like $900 that we could use to spend in Maui. It was pretty sweet.
Nice. Is this, by the way, your alt-right Hawaiian shirt?
Yeah, I wore it for the Boogaloo. my clan in Call of Duty.
C, hard C.
Yeah, C. It's called a clan in Call of Duty. My clan is named Boogaloo 2020.
Nice.
I didn't make the
very
clan,
mature.
I got invited, and I thought that's pretty clever, so I joined it.
I joined that team. All right. Well, that's all we have to talk about tonight. This has been fun.
No, you skipped over me.
Oh, yeah. It's not important.
It's already 8:28.
My list of grievances for Boss Hog of Liberty are as follows.
All right, here we go.
The intro is too long. Mix it in sooner. Don't make me wait for there was never intended for this.
You get 8 seconds of the music. I will have you know that people love it and appreciate it.
I love it too.
I've had good,
Listen, Chris,
great letters, the best letters.
I have tried to convince Jeremiah to let the music go over top of the talking at the beginning,
which it should.
He refuses.
Listen, man.
Intro violation.
If you simply start if you want to do
number
the edit,
2,
if you want to do the edit,
you gave away Danny's present to Mark Brim and not to me. I should have been the recipients of what was it?
Oreos.
Do you really want Oreos?
I would eat the heck out of some Oreos.
Do you need them?
I will send producer Sarah out right now.
Did Guffey just fat shame me?
Yeah,
I think
maybe.
I think Equate Guffey over there thought maybe you were off the Oreos.
Number 3. Dakota's firstborn was not named after me.
No apology there.
Named after a town in Mississippi.
Number 4, Jeremiah has no firstborn to name after me. And that is because Mason keeps cock blocking Sarah on their trips. Number 5 is that you didn't add the bumper music that I sent to you, apparently. That's a late addition. And then you reminded me that you sold a piece of We Are Libertarians heritage to Carly Ernst without asking me.
Carly promised to repurpose it and make a podcast. So
I
let a podcast live on.
I loaned my equipment to them, and they sold it out from under me without.
We thought that we were adding to the Wall Network.
You thought wrong, because I wanted to keep my board. And then you sold it out. We're in a group chat one day, and Jeremiah goes, and we're going to get 400 for this and 300 for that. I go, that's mine.
Not more.
Hold on. We never got that much money.
I know. Yeah, right. Number 9, Jeremiah is not inviting me places. He is being a social recluse and not having pool parties this year. There used to be
It's been a pandemic. I did
At
notice
the beginning of this episode, he said that there was some kind of a pool party going on tomorrow.
And I didn't get invited.
I didn't either.
You're not in that club. A year ago, I visited
show
you.
goats.
Horses.
Know a lot about buffalo penis.
Hey, listen to the Patreon to know what that joke is about. It has something to do with this stuff right here. A year ago, I visited you at Brown County. I've not been invited to your Brown County cabin. That was a year ago today.
I went to rent one earlier this year, and they were not open because of COVID, and I was pissed. So,
Starve Hall is available.
yeah, I may come down for that, actually.
Wasn't Governor Holcomb staying at a cabin in Brown County?
He has a residence. There's an official governor's residence.
Yeah, apparently the governor has a residence in Brown County, and no masks needed in Brown County, just like Henry County.
Is it only for governors that can stay there?
Sometimes elected officials get themselves in some hot water. It happens.
I would
and
like
Ken and Grace could resign.
Yes. I warned all of you people. Now, this is not the opinions of Jeremiah Morrell, because he doesn't want to look petty and he doesn't want to dance on somebody's grave. But you all had the choice. You had Jeremiah, you had the boss Hog, and you chose this guy who's creeping on young girls on Twitter that were in his high school. And then he's sharing racist memes. You could have had Jeremiah. He only creeps on his friends.
I'm really, really happy hosting this show. Our Kenan has had a really bad week,
and I'm here to make it worse.
And it continues. Last I heard, he was in Texas on vacation, and he was going to quarantine for 14 days. So I read that in the paper yesterday, and I don't know.
And then he was at the Planning Commission meeting tonight at 5.
Yeah,
really
saving his behind by one vote.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was a motion to remove Ken Gray because of his racism at the Henry County Planning Commission tonight.
And his creepiness.
But it failed for a lack of vote, right? Because there weren't enough people.
So we learned on this
people
show.
Abstained.
We did learn on this show that the Planning Commission has to have at least, it's a 9-person deal. You have to have at least 5 affirmative votes to take any action. That was the situation with the wind ordinance, 4 months ago when the latest wind thing went down. Same committee, same voting process. If you don't have 5, then nothing happens.
And we got 4. And there's, 1 abstained? Was there 1 or 2?
Yeah,
there's 1 abstained.
One
obviously
abstained, 2
Kenan
voted
couldn't
no,
vote.
and then Kenan didn't vote himself.
To the abstention, you are a pussy. Bet you wear a
He's
mask.
a friend of the show. He hired us.
I bet he wears
a
a mask in public for fun.
Actually,
just to shame the others.
his
Yes.
mask is different. It's a different take on a mask.
Is it?
Yeah,
Looks just like
he
yours.
doesn't like the ones that come underneath, like they're the ones that go underneath your chin.
Yeah.
Sounds like there's a personal relationship here.
So
He should have done the right thing and voted against the man who beat Jeremiah.
So the guy that abstained,
If he's a real friend of the show, he would have voted against Keenan.
That's true.
I'm pretty sure he just won't be here anymore. He's going to leave the town. He's
Yeah,
going
he
to
is.
move out of town.
Well, then what did he have to lose?
Nothing.
His integrity gone.
All right, are you through?
No, who else can I be mean to that'll make him uncomfortable?
Let's see. There's a list
Listen.
of names here.
Listen,
If we
give me
want to
this
know,
list. Roach, not okay with me. No. What Curly? I liked Mo better. Janos, go back to Greece. And Gray, you should have not abstained. What? Yes.
he had to. It was a motion about him.
about his removal.
Oh, well, he should have voted against himself if he had any decency, but he has none,
All right.
as evenced by his tweets at young girls about their
I
tan.
thought that you were going to tell the citizens of Henry County the actual news and tell them which one of the people on the planning commission voted which way. so they
Roy
knew.
Clark, good. Tom Green, great. D. Cole, never heard of her. And Zach Veach.
Zach Veach. Dale Cole and O'Leary.
All of them are fine with me.
Yeah, so that's the excitement.
I'm glad.
man.
I'm happy for Dale. Glad he did that. Dale Cole has been a recurring character on this show for years now.
We had a lot of Dale Cole. talk.
Sounds fake.
No, that's
no,
legit.
Dale's-
He's legit.
Dale's a real man. Probably 80, 85 years old. just carrying on.
Well, and he voted to remove Keenan.
One
He is
of
a
the
real man.
most active people in the community right now. It
I think
is.
he's the vice chairman of the Democratic Party.
Kind of like who was Al in Brown County in the Libertarian?
Al Cox.
Al
Yeah.
Cox. Rest in peace.
Very much like the late Al
Yep.
Cox. Yeah, I don't know. It's so
You don't have to talk about this.
Henry
You can
County.
let Chris and I handle it. The fact is that Kenan Gray
It's a creep.
has, for years now, been posting very distasteful things on his Facebook page, whether it be his personal Facebook page or even his official Henry County Councilman Facebook page, which is even more gross if you ask me. Despite many of his constituents coming towards him and saying, "Why are you posting things that have to do with national politics on your Henry County Councilman Facebook page whenever you're supposed to be representing everybody who lives here?"
Yeah, the idea of representative government is that, yes, you choose somebody from your side, but they're there to represent all the people that they serve. It's not there to represent their narrow view. That's the problem with Donald Trump, is that he is only president of the people that like him.
And the problem with Kenan is that despite my best efforts in 2018, 2 years ago, to share the things that he was sharing and just showing people, look, if you vote for this man, this is what you're voting for.
Yep.
Like, make an informed decision. If you're okay with it, then that's one thing. But if you're not, then make sure that other people also know. And that didn't work. And so then
we also
he
had
was
some
elected.
other election issues that year that needed to be addressed.
But
Yeah, but
besides the point, besides blaming it on something else, he was still
He's still a terrible
elected.
candidate.
And he gets into office, and of course the behavior doesn't stop. I knew it was only a matter of time before it bites him. This is the perfect time for it to bite him. And it wasn't surprising at all when it happened. What got him, the meme that got him, was mild compared to many of the things that he has posted in the past 2 years. So it's been a recurring problem. But the biggest problem is that there's been zero self-awareness and zero humility through the whole process. It's been nothing but lies that come from him, and basically even the newspaper saying that he was hacked, saying that he wouldn't be able to make it to meetings because he had a 14-day quarantine, and then he shows up at the planning commission meeting. You're hacked. That's just a flat out lie. And because then you apologize for the post later, but you don't actually apologize. You just say that you're sorry that some people were offended.
Right.
And
You
then continue
gaslighted.
to lecture them after.
Yeah.
It is the entitled attitude that everybody is sick of.
Yes.
It's the entitlement that because I served my community as vice principal and I deserve this and you need to respect me because of my position. Nobody respects politicians. Nobody cares about politicians. And just because you have a party label that will get you 45% of the sycophantic vote, it doesn't mean that everybody has to act like you are intelligent, because you're clearly not, or a decent human being because you're continually showing you're not a good person. And then when everybody calls out that, hey, you're not a good person, and they try to check you, the entitlement and the pride takes over, and then you get mad at them for pointing out the clear obviousness of your degeneracy.
Here's the deal. If you don't like the way that the county council is behaving, and we had the entire county council ask for the county coroner to resign about a month ago because he had taken a part-time job in another county during the week during the pandemic. That people were going to die in the county, and the coroner was not going to be able to perform his job. So the whole council asked for him to resign. There is no way for an elected official in Indiana to get removed unless they die or they resign or they get convicted of a crime. Mm-hmm. There's no mechanism for anybody to be a watchdog other than the voters. So if people are really mad about this, you can put all the pressure you want on Kenan, and I fully understand why people are mad, but the people of Henry County voted for him. And he's up for election every 4 years.
Which is a bad reflection on them.
Right. Well, the people of Henry County did it. They had options. We know that. But the people of Henry County have him for another 2.5 years. Unless they go to the state and say, you know what, I don't like this system. We need a way to recall. We need a way to have an impeachment. We need a mechanism to be able to remove elected officials. You've had this 2 times in the county now where the people have been unhappy with one of their elected officials. But you have an entire county government that's full of Republicans. Every single person in county government in Henry County is a Republican. So if you want to have any change, you need to talk to your supermajority Republican legislators and say, we want a method to be able to deal with this.
And that's exactly the point. The majority has to hold people accountable, especially because we have messed up representative democracy so badly. And that's sort of what like the Butt Chicago stuff. Do you really think that black leaders in Chicago are not concerned about black people killing black people? They just can't do anything about it because the majority of this country continues to vote for bad drug laws and horrible crime bills and doesn't care. Keenan, so you understand why I say you're a bad person. I don't know anybody who is as prideful as you, that sees yourself superior to others, that actually is a person that others like. And there's a reason for that. And this lack of humility anytime a majority rules in an area, it's up to the majority to check and say, I don't want this person in charge because this is unacceptable behavior. If you're a Republican that doesn't like Donald Trump, but you never speak up and say anything about it, you're complicit. And that's what blows my mind, is that people who lectured us about the family values of Bill Clinton forever now have completely given up on family values when it comes to them maintaining political power. That level of hypocrisy makes everybody completely stunned that you had no values to begin with and that we believe that you were honest. And so what's happening now in this county is a great example for the citizens to stand up and say, enough with pride, enough with you thinking that you're better than other people, that you can denigrate people that live in your community that don't agree with you continually. Not just a one-time slip-up, continually.
I've seen a lot of bad memes.
Right.
And,
I've posted them.
That's one thing. And it could have all gone away, and to me have been a non-issue if he went, I didn't realize that this would be hurtful to some of my constituents that I was elected to represent.
No, he's not listening.
Sorry.
He doesn't care. He doesn't have to care what people that are under him think, because he knows that the majority has his back. And when the majority finally grows a backbone in this country and starts saying to elected leadership, this isn't okay, even though you're on my side, because here's the deal. It's in-group, out-group theory. Everybody in this room is in my in-group, right? So it's more impactful if Jeremiah comes to me and says, hey, your behavior and what you said or what you did is not good.
Well, but that's happening.
And that's what should happen.
Party.
Yeah.
That's happened a lot with the Republican Party here. Now, the GOP leadership, their comments on it, and that appeared in the newspaper, weren't great. They weren't what you would expected, but it was at least showing that they recognized an issue.
The problem that they have is that every single elected official is a member of that party.
Mm-hmm.
So trying to put out a statement that reflects every one of them, all 7 of the council members are Republicans.
Right.
So having essentially, if they want to win the public relations side, they can't speak as the party. The individual council people need to speak for themselves, because you're not going to be able to
we've seen that happen.
You're not going. You've had a few of them weigh in.
Republican council member at large, Clay Morgan, came out, made a couple of Facebook posts explicitly condemning his basically, he didn't even just condemn the one meme, because the one meme's not the problem.
Yeah, it's the behavior.
It's the behavior.
Right.
And that's what he came out against. And Clay did a great job. He was very articulate, like he always is, very professional, like he always is, and laid it out better than what I could. It might not be that Kennan is an outright racist or a bigot. He could just be ignorant, but the fact that he defends the behavior,
it's that he's willfully ignorant that is the problem.
Right.
And if you're in a position
whenever
of leader,
you cross that line of ignorance to willful ignorance and not wanting to listen to another side.
Because if you're a leader, part of being a leader is listening to the people that you serve. So the big problem here is that
there's a problem with that, because it's not if you are a person who has held a position of authority for decades, then you don't look at a leadership position as a public servant position. Yeah. It is it is another place to have authority.
It's an entitlement at a certain point. It's a position of nobility. Yeah,
But Kennan's welcome to come on this show and talk about it. He can defend himself.
But he never
his quarantine is up.
You offered to have him come on, but he doesn't want to be challenged. And this is part of the problem. This is the challenge that I'd make to my fellow Christians in this community. When you have somebody who is willfully ignorant, who is stubborn, who is prideful, who is demeaning, who is insulting, who is putting down those who are marginalized, who is not willing to listen to those who are marginalized and stand up for them, you have a person who is in direct conflict with the teachings of Jesus Christ. And yet, because he is a Republican, you'll let him off the hook. And so at a certain point,
probably be reelected in 2022.
You become complicit in the sin instead of standing up and correcting the behavior and standing up for the teachings of Christ. And that is part of why so many people are turning away from the church. So this is a moment for Christian leaders in this community to stand up for what our values teach. It's not about cancel culture. This is a person who doesn't reflect the values of Henry County as I've learned about them in my many travels to this county.
Well, we'll see what happens. Like I said, there's no removal mechanism. Ken Gray is on the Henry County Council as long as he wants to be until the next election. I don't think anything's going to change there. Mm-hmm. People can pressure people. It sounds like there may be a protest on Saturday, and there may be at the next council meeting potentially another protest, and folks trying to get on the agenda.
The problem with
at that point,
people with that mindset is that the protests will have the opposite effect.
It always does. In that example of the Klan, Temperance was the Catholic newspaper. The Fiery Cross was the Klan newspaper in the state. And someone broke into Klan headquarters and stole the rolls of the Klan, and Temperance printed it. And what that did is that reinforced the notion that the Catholics were out to take over the state and to get regular Americans. And so it swelled the rolls. So if you're going to protest, be mindful of the reactionary mind. That's where if you're going to protest outside of somebody's house, you're doing that person a favor. You're not helping your cause.
Yeah.
And so how you protest matters as much as if you're protesting.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a
So what would you recommend for constituents that are angry and upset by his behavior to do?
They should
reach out to him personally.
Not him.
I think so.
I think you reach out to him, but you personally meet or call everyone on that body and have a conversation with them in a polite manner. Because
just show up at the next meeting.
And show up at the meeting. It's interpersonal relationships are everything in local politics. And shouting, being angry, doing these big stunts, that doesn't have an effect. Politely having a conversation and connecting on a human level with a representative has a real impactful, because then they don't see you as the other. You're not part of the out group. It's going back to the in-group, out-group thing. Nancy Pelosi has to oppose Donald Trump. It means nothing, because it's just how the out groups handle each other. It's when, James Mattis criticizes Donald Trump that everybody goes, oh, or John Bolton, who has bona fides as a Republican, criticizes him. That's when it carries weight. If a Democrat who I've never met is criticizing me, it doesn't carry as much weight as Jeremiah criticizing me. But Jeremiah is going to do it in a way that is personal and productive, because he understands who I am and cares about me. Right.
Think about that.
Exactly right.
The folks that have been weighing in on this controversy are not the regular political types. Right. Today, the newspaper printed the statements from the Democrat and the Republican parties, but the individuals that have been driving this issue on social media have not been the elected officials or the politicos. It's been standard non-political folks in the community that are former students or constituents that are upset. That's why it's gotten so much attention. It's not if the talking heads of the community or the same 15 people that show up at every meeting are complaining about it. It's actually new people that are interested. And that's what actually drives change.
Because the world of demeaning people, the world of dominating people through politics, that world is over. And the world of peaceful cooperation, the peace of conversation, of unity, that is the future. And anybody who wants to hold on to the culture of we're white, so we're in charge, like Keenan does, that's over. That doesn't exist anymore. You can fight tooth and nail all you want, but the reality is that your community no longer wants that. The future of this community doesn't want that. They don't want someone like Keenan, who is in a position of leadership, demeaning other cultures and other people. It's not cancel culture. It's holding somebody accountable for their statements. You don't have license to just do and say whatever you want anymore.
I'm not sure this county's moving forward that fast because I also hear the Planning Commission said no to new cell phone towers today. So I'm not sure that Henry County's moving it forward that quickly.
No.
We're probably not getting T-Mobile. I think T-Mobile got canceled tonight.
You're lucky. T-Mobile's trash.
I think T-Mobile died.
Yeah. Sorry, rip Chris Gold. T-Maybe.
All right. Well, it's almost 9:00. We probably ought to wrap the show up here. Normally what we do is we go around the room, we talk to everybody, give them a chance to plug whatever they're doing. Producer Sara
Guffey.
Covering for Chris. What do we know? Anything?
No self-promotion activities needed here, but I think the biggest thing to remember in situations like this is whenever there's a pattern of behavior, like that is something that is obviously a problem. And I think the people that need to talk to him and really get through to him, because I know I can't because my husband ran against him in an election. Like the people that need to.
Don't worry, his wife feels the same, I'm sure.
I know. but the people that will get through to him or the ones that are actually going to make a difference are aware of this situation, and I hope it's being handled. But I also know that, in this particular situation, the whole public viewing of it has not, like, that just hasn't happened. There hasn't been a giant statement from the Republican Party aside from the little bit in the news article. That was it.
Better than what I expected.
It was slightly better than what I expected, but at the same time, I wish it would not have been as
The Libertarian Party of Henry County didn't give a statement.
Were they contacted at all?
No, but the Democrats did.
I saw that. But, I mean, that's the end of my final thoughts. I'm just it's just a disappointment.
I'm not the chairman, so I can't make that decision.
Who's the chairman?
That would be
Chairperson. Lisa Crosby.
Chairwoman.
Lisa Crosby.
Get her on the phone. I love Lisa.
All right.
Katrin. Lisa Katrin.
Yes, I'm sorry. My
It should basically, the position should be what Joe Jorgensen said, which is it's not enough to be passively not racist. You should be actively anti-racist.
Wow, Marxist. On that.
All right, final thoughts.
It's
Chris.
not a Marxist term. There are Marxists who are anti-war, but that does not mean that everyone that is anti-war is Marxist. They're non-interventionists like libertarians.
Marx was a racist.
Yeah, you can be anti-racist, which means the following: stand up for your friends when they're saying something racist. If you run a bank, give loans to black people. If you work at a place and they're not hiring black people and you know it, say something. Like it isn't that hard. We have to build when it comes to issues of the heart. When it comes to issues of personal decency, there is no law that can fix any of that. And so we have to build the world that we want to live in.
We have to make it like being a pedophile. If someone says something mildly racist, you look at them like someone said, I love 13-year-olds.
That's too
and you go, what the hell is wrong with you? Get out of my house.
No, I think here's the thing. It's like we all know the rules from when we were kids. Don't hit people. Don't take other people's stuff. Don't be mean to people for the color of their skin. Like I was taught that. I don't know about you guys, but like at the end of the day, when you sit down and you have conversations with people who are from other cultures or other belief systems or other religions, they all want the exact same thing. Like I had a conversation with my Pat Down co-host Dion about socialized medicine. We couldn't be further apart on how you get to the same end goal that we agreed on. We both want everybody to have low cost, easily accessible, affordable healthcare that is top quality, that takes care of children and families and the elderly. Like we want the same thing.
It's just that government can't do it. They'll really want to do it, but they won't ever do it right.
And he doesn't agree with me on that part. But we at least agree on the same thing. Like, what
would you think about it if states did it though, instead of the federal government?
Fine, because then you can move. You know what I mean?
Move,
like you can.
There can be
right.
there can be
You've got some options.
Yeah, but my point is that you have to live with other cultures. You have to live with other people. You have to live with Republicans if you're Democrats. Like, let's all just be nice to each other and give each other some space. But when somebody gets out of line, don't be afraid to step up and say, this isn't appropriate. And I think it's a good sign that this planning commission did that to him, because 10 years, 20, 30 years ago, that probably wouldn't have happened. And it only happened because enough people put pressure on their representatives to do the right thing. The Doughboy situation, the all these kerfuffles that you guys talk about every single week, it's all public opinion driven. And that's the way it's supposed to be in America. Like, Confederate statues, in my opinion, need to be taken down, but not by mobs. What a representative democracy does is it gives voice to every group in the society so they can be heard and listened to, and then the rational, reasonable discussion based that comes out of the decision, like, everybody's heard, and there's a process to rectifying problems in a society. You know, a mob tearing down a statue, for instance, alienates a certain portion or a large portion of the, you know, and so what's happening in Henry County in a lot of respects is positive, because the people are being heard and these things are being taken up, and maybe the things that you wanted to happen aren't happening, but at least there's a conversation happening and people are engaged more than ever before in your county politics. And that's a really good thing.
I hope it lasts. I hope people stay involved.
It is disheartening because I've been seeing it from the same person for 2 years.
Yeah.
And hopefully people remember it in 2 years.
It took the current political climate and racial tension in this country to get it the attention that it needed.
Yes.
And it shouldn't have gotten that far.
Chris, how do people follow you? You're on the Ms. Pat podcast. You got Weird Libertarians. So how are all the ways they find you?
Just go to weirdlibertarians.com for all that stuff. Follow me on any social media. You can go to, like, if you go to my Instagram or my Twitter, there's a link, and you can access all my podcasts and all the stuff from my link tree there.
Dakota, final thoughts?
I don't have a whole lot. First of all, I want to say that Joe Devine with Devine Painting LLC, he is the guy that painted the studio, the exterior of the studio. He also came out and he painted my house. He did my gutters, downspouts, shutters, and exterior doors, including the garage door. And he was very reasonable in price. He did it very quickly, but he also did an amazing job. It was very, very well done. My gutters and my soffit, they were brown because they're old. And it genuinely looks like I just have new white gutters and soffit on my house. He did an amazing job.
Yeah, the building looks great.
Oh, yeah. The exterior of this building is fantastic.
Yeah.
We are a shining example of downtown Newcastle.
I just got a message on Facebook from my friend Dan. Public outrage over councilman's Facebook post from the Courier-Times. Do you remember when the libertarians were trolling this guy? I go, I'm literally doing that on a podcast right now. So 854 from Dan.
Oh gosh, yeah,
it's hilarious.
It's quite the world we live in.
And also, well, actually, that's about it.
We weren't trolling the guy. We were running there was a candidate.
I was trolling.
Yeah. You were in trouble.
The candidate in the race didn't do anything as far as trolling went.
Yeah.
He just ran a campaign. And then all of a sudden, it became Jeremiah's minions were after him. And the libs. He kept calling us libs because he wanted people to associate libertarians with liberals.
Yeah, because he's an idiot.
Okay. Final thoughts from me.
Jeremiah
really
admitted he's an idiot.
We are pregnant with Kenan for 2.5 more years, and we're going to have the baby together. So
Not
we're going to
you
get through
people.
it.
I live in Marion
fine.
County.
You know what? Kenan has never been mean to me. But
Well, and the other thing is, like, he does his job as a councilman.
that's the other thing.
He's one of the more
Clay
active
Morgan,
councilmen.
like I was saying, who was calling him out about his social media posts. Whenever I talked to Clay, he's like, as far as the duties of the council, which is fiscal issues, he's very, very good at it.
All right, cool. He's a C- student. Great.
Which is like,
All right.
so whatever.
Couple things for me real quick for final thoughts. Sarah and I were a part of the Henry County 4-H Fair this last week. We work with the junior leaders. The community helped us still do a virtual pie auction. Every year, the 4-H club,
Love coming on this show.
the kids
I haven't heard
come
the
in.
words pie auction in my life.
The kids come in and they bake pies and they go to a charity. We raised the most money we've raised since the year 2016 in the virtual cherry pie or pie auction. There was only one cherry pie, which is
With
disappointing.
only 9 pies.
9 kids, and they raised $1,520. It
8
goes
kids,
towards
because one kid brought 2 pies.
Okay, quit correcting me, producer Chris.
I'm glad that I didn't bid on any of those pies. I definitely wouldn't have won.
$1,520 were raised, and they
How
go
fat
to
was that?
There was a maple bourbon
4-H.
pie.
Yeah.
That a maple bourbon peach pie, and I thought that sounds fantastic.
Do you want me to
I
get
love
the
bourbon
recipe?
and I love peaches, and I thought I'm going to get that. And then I got on. There were no bids at the present time. However, the buy it now price was $175, and I thought it's way too rich for my blood.
That one wound up selling for over $200.
No,
Holy
that
cow.
one went at the auction at the Buy It Now.
Okay,
The
all right.
maple
I swear to
bourbon
God, if
pie.
she doesn't stop correcting me, we're going to have a problem.
I'm just
Never
watching
let
your
the
back.
truth
Did you
get in the
hear
way
that
of a
sigh?
good story.
Did you hear the sigh from the producer's desk?
Sarah, blink twice if you need a place to stay.
I'm fine. This
I'm
is
told-
if
I'm
I
told
were
we're
not
very
fine, I
happy.
wouldn't be correcting him.
So
I wouldn't mouth off.
$1,520 were raised. That's fantastic. Very excited. Looking forward to next year when we get to it again, hopefully in person with a real auction. But the county 4-H group overcame in a social distancing fair. They've worked very hard. They've still had their livestock events. They've still done the things that matter to make sure the kids have a fair, and they still raised $1,500. So I'm proud of that one. Next week's show, Thursday, Chase promises to be here because we've booked Joey Molinaro. Verified Twitter, Joey Molinaro is of Barstool Sports will be here next week.
He works for Barstool now, does he?
Yeah.
Congratulations to Joey, one of the worst interns I ever had at Bob and Tom.
So Joey is going to be on, and Joey had a really bad night last night because he's one of those verified Twitter guys, and they couldn't tweet for a couple of hours. All the verified people got shut off.
I'm really pissed off that Joey's verified
and
and
you're
I'm
not.
Yeah.
I know it's
Yeah,
it's
that's
petty.
bullshit.
It's really petty of you, Chris.
It's not petty. It's just unfair. History is not fair.
All right, that's enough of this. We'll see y'all next week.
Thank you for listening to the Boss Hog of Liberty, which is part of the We Are Libertarians Network. I am Chris Spangle, and I am the founder of this network, and I invite you to listen to all of our shows, which you can find at WeAreLibertarians.com or by searching for these in your podcatcher. The flagship show is the We Are Libertarians podcast, where we apply libertarian principles to current events. The Brian Nichols Show is a conversation amongst Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians, Independents, as they talk about what is happening in the news. And we have many other podcasts like The Chris Spangle Show, Upward, The Cost, Raw Audio Politics, Miranda's World, and Tad Talk, which is quite a ride. So check all of these out. Go to WeAreLibertarians.com and you can check out all of our great podcasts. Thanks for listening. Thank you for listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Get our other shows at WeAreLibertarians.com.